All right, so we are here with Ross Tucker. Thank you, Ross, for taking the time. I know that you're a very busy man with CBS and also with the Eagles as well, so we appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, it is my pleasure. Great to be on with you guys. I see you're growing, you're doing big things. That's awesome. I have a healthy respect, first of all, for anyone that loves the Eagles like you guys, but also that tries to start something from scratch, entrepreneurs. I've got the entrepreneurial spirit as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And speaking about that, I mean, I guess we'll get right into it. Um, you started a new program. Tell me a little bit about futurefans.com, the
Yeah,
best way.
I wish I started it.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
you did
it's
start.
actually,
Okay.
believe it or not, a couple of
Okay.
Bengals fans that I met. It's genius. I don't know if you have any
Okay.
kids, KJ, or whatever, but it is
Not yet.
really hard to explain football to like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10-year olds. It is, I mean, even my daughters, I took them to the Super Bowl and they were, the one turned 13 that day, the other one's 11. And I could just tell by the questions they were asking that I hadn't asked, I hadn't done a terrific job teaching them football. These guys have kind of solved it. It's a storybook led activity box. So if you want to have your child have that same love and joy for the Eagles that you do, go to futurefans.com. Because the reality is, like, it's hard to get them to sit there and watch the whole game with you. Like, they want to be on their iPads, they want to be doing this or
Yes.
that. But just think, I mean, I think the thing costs like $60. Think about how well worth it that would be if that gets your 7-year-old or your 9-year-old or your 5-year-old or whoever, your niece, nephew, I don't care, to actually sit there and watch every Eagles game like I did with my dad when he was complaining about Izell Jenkins and Buddy Ryan back in the day. Like, that's what it's about, right? It's about
Exactly.
watching the game with your dad or whoever. Well, these kids nowadays have so many other things going on that they're not just going to sit there and watch it with you. So you want to get them to love the Eagles as much as we all do. It's futurefans.com. Can't highly recommend enough. You go over there and check it out. That is the key to getting your kids to understand and love football like we do.
That's awesome. Yeah, go check that out, guys. Definitely go check that out. I mean, that definitely does sound like something that kids can get behind. I mean, parents can get behind showing their kids, trying to get them experience with sports, I guess, and football specifically.
Especially now, by the way, with how good the Eagles are. Like, this
Yeah,
is like
exactly.
I think the one guy told me that when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl a few years ago is when he was trying to get his kid to watch the game, and they're like, "Nah, I'll watch next year." No, no, no.
Yeah,
We're a Bengals fan. Like this is the year. You got to watch now. They're not going to the Super Bowl again. But obviously, with the Eagles being so good and so many positive things happen, it makes it even more special if you can get them to sit there and watch the game or most of the game with you. And I mean, KJ, they got another really good team this year. It's going to be fun.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's perfect transition into my next question. What's your confidence with the this roster coming up, this 2025 Eagles team? Do you think they can repeat? I mean, there's a lot of pressure on this team. Like, could they have a hangover? What do you think?
Well, listen, I still think they're a top 5 team. I think they have a top 5 roster, arguably still number 1 roster. I think the two things that jump out to me are they have been really healthy in recent years, really healthy. So shout out to their medical department. Shout out to Howie Roseman for whatever changes they made there. But when you see certain teams that drop off after their success, I think of like the 49ers last year, man, it was like all kinds of injuries, right? Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Bosa. It
Yep.
was terrible. So
Debo as
if
well.
that could easily happen to the Eagles. Hopefully it doesn't. They do a really good job of managing those guys this time of year during training camp, but injuries could get them, and that's a big factor when you played till mid-February the year before. And then I also just think it's just hard to repeat, right? It's just hard to win because you think about it now, the Eagles are a little bit different because usually to win those playoff games, they're all close games. The Eagles destroyed the Commanders in the NFC Championship game, murdered the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's a little bit different, but usually when you go on a playoff run, it's kind of like that Rams game, right? Where there's like a play here or two could change things. And so I think that's why it's so tough to repeat, and really, quite frankly, so impressive what the Chiefs have done the last few years, winning that many playoff games. Because if you go back and look, a lot of those playoff games for the Chiefs, every time they play the Bills, like it's like a one-score game that comes down to the end,
Yeah.
and they always find a way to win it. Well, for the Eagles, in the playoffs, going against probably, let's say, the Niners or the Packers or the Lions or the Bucks, maybe the Commanders, those you would expect to be really close, hotly contested games. And especially if they don't get the bye, it's just hard. It's just so hard to win 4 of those for any team.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely has been really cool to see this team really kind of just prove a lot of the doubters wrong. And I mean, it's been awesome as a fan for sure. And obviously for your sake as well. I mean, just like to watch it. I mean, I bet it's just amazing.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love the
Yeah,
preseason games,
right.
right? I mean, I can remember in 2018, I think that was the year before I started doing the preseason games. I was still watching them when Mike Mayock was doing it. And I saw this left tackle who had never played football before named Jordan Mailata. And I remember thinking, like, whoa, that guy, that guy looks like he's got something. And I probably went a little overboard saying that I thought, he would not only start, but be all pro someday. Guess what? He was all pro last year,
Yeah.
second team all pro. So I was right on that. But there's a lot of guys that contribute to this team that you really started to see it in the preseason. These preseason games, which are going to determine probably 3 or 4 starters, are going to be really fun to watch. I'm excited. Hard to believe it starts already August 7th against the Bengals, who they just said they're going to play Joe Burrow more in the preseason because they've been getting off to slow starts. So that'll be interesting. If it's Joe Burrow against some of the Eagles' number 2s on defense, since they don't usually play that much, their starters, that will be a test for Keely Ringo and all the guys competing at corner.
A lot of people don't realize that you actually played the game. You were in the NFL for many seasons. You played with the Patriots. You played with the Cowboys. I believe the Redskins as well, Washington, now the Commanders, and then I believe the Bills as well.
Yeah, I played for 5 teams. Technically, I only really count 4 because the Browns traded for me and then cut me on final cutdown day. But yeah, man, played for 7 years. It was awesome. Temp job in my 20s. My dad is 5'9", $165. So I definitely did not think I'd be an NFL lineman someday. It is weird. I will say this. It wasn't that weird to be a Washington Redskin or a Dallas Cowboy.
Right.
But it was really weird to play against the Eagles, because from age 5 until I was 22, I loved that helmet. I mean, when I was in college, I went to a game. I remember cheering for Dawkins and Hugh Douglas and those guys. And then my second year, I'm 23 years old. I'm starting for the Cowboys against the Eagles in a Saturday night game, and I'm playing against Hugh Douglas and Brian Dawkins and Troy Vincent and those guys. Just bizarre, really bizarre to, compete against guys you had been cheering for a couple years earlier, and to go against that helmet and that uniform and try to kill those guys. It didn't work, but to go after those guys, that was really a unique experience.
Yeah, that definitely does sound like something pretty crazy. I mean, obviously watching those guys, and then you make it to the NFL, you make it to that pinnacle, and you're like, oh my gosh, like you're there, and then you see Dawkins, and I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that's
You'll
awesome.
appreciate this too,
Yeah.
KJ.
Yeah.
So I'm 23, right? So like my buddies from high school, they all get together to watch the Cowboys-Eagles game on a Saturday night.
Right.
And they love me, but they're not picking me over the Eagles. You know what I mean? Like they're not rooting for the Cowboys. That's not happening. That's, by the way, the divider, right? Like your mom and dad and your sister, your girlfriend, wife, or whatever, they'll stick with you, whatever team you're on. Your buddies and like your cousins, they're rooting for the Eagles. Like they're not rooting for the Cowboys or Washington. So it's funny. Like they're literally watching the game and like Corey Simon or somebody gets a sack and they're like, yeah. And then they all watch the replay to make sure it wasn't my guy. Like they wanted the Eagles to murder us, but they didn't want me to be the one giving up the sack. So it's funny though. My one buddy called me that day and he's like, I can't believe you're doing this, bro. And I was like, what? He's like, I can't believe you're starting for the Cowboys against the Eagles. Like, you have no loyalty, you have no pride. I'm like, dude, you work for Verizon in the mall. The Eagles don't even know who you are. Like, you've never played for them. The Cowboys are paying me a lot of money to play tonight. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, listen, the only thing I can figure is that you're going to give up a couple sacks to Darwin Walker to make sure we get home field advantage. I'm like, no, I'm not giving up any sack. I'm not going to give up. I'm not trying to give up sacks to Darwin Walker. It's just like hilarious how delusional some people can be. It was great.
Oh yeah. I mean, I deal with that with my cousins. They're actually they're Cowboys fans from Philadelphia, so
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's something else. So
well, guess what? They've had a horrific 30 years, so that's on them.
They definitely have.
You know what's funny, by the way, about playing for the Cowboys is that, like, you go to a hotel night before the game, it is packed. Like, they treated us like we were superstars. And I remember thinking, do they realize we stink? Like, do they realize we are not good? It was 2002, but Emmitt Smith was still on the team, Larry Allen, Darren Woodson. So some of the heroes from the 90s were still on the team. So you kind of got like, hey, well, this guy's on the team with them now. And, I got a chance to block for Emmitt, which was very cool. I mean, he's the NFL's all-time leading rusher. And, I blocked for him for, I guess, the last 7 games in 2002, which is, something cool to have for the rest of my life with my kids and stuff. Who better be knowing football now that I got him futurefans.com and took him to the Super Bowl for my older one's birthday, which was, by the way, an incredible I never get to be a fan. I'm always calling him, but I didn't have any duties for the Super Bowl. So I was able to get my whole family to come to the game with me. That was cool. Really cool.
What was it like transitioning from playing football to announcing and being an analyst?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's a lot harder than people think it is, because first of all, you can't talk the way you talk as a player because the people won't understand a lot of the jargon and terminology. So it's almost like you have to explain complicated things in a very efficient manner and in a way in which everybody can understand. It's not like playing, but for me, it's as close as I can get. But I love it. It's kind of like, honestly, man, I only ever had 2 dreams growing up. I wanted to be a football player and I wanted to be a football broadcaster, and they both kind of have happened. I mean, because my dad's 5'9", $165, I never thought this would happen. So I just wanted to be a broadcaster. And if you ask my friends, they'll tell you that God made me a good enough player so I could get the broadcasting gigs that I have now. But it's not easy, especially when you're being critical of guys that and also how hard it is. But you still just need to call it the way you see it. Anything I say, I would say to the guy's face. And if I mess up, then they can tell me I messed up. But I'm gonna do the best I can. Listen, I'd be the first one to tell you, hey, Ross Tucker is a liability in one-on-one pass protection. They don't want him to be one-on-one against Aaron Donald. They better help him. That was me. And guess what? It was true. And it is true. So as long as you're just saying the truth as you know it, my big thing is this, KJ. Like, when I want everybody, when they watch me call a game, including these Eagles preseason games, I want them to learn something. At some point in the game, learn something that they didn't really know. I want them to laugh. I don't care if they laugh at me, but just laugh. And then I want them to know that I love it. Because I think that if you don't love it, what are we even doing here? Like, what's even the point of this? And I think most people can tell when I'm calling games that I love it. Like this way I am right now with you, or when I'm calling it. This is how I always am. Like this is how I am. I love life and I really love football. And so combining those things, it's a blessing, man. I'm 46, haven't had to get a real job yet. Doesn't look like I'm going to have to get one. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you're pretty safe at your job now. So, I mean, that's a good thing. It's funny because I actually announce part-time. I do I do part-time announcing for high school basketball games and semi-pro basketball games. So I actually do that as well. So, but the good thing is that, I mean, like it's kind of, it's not a paid thing right now. So it's kind of like a side kind of thing, but it's cool though. I definitely always wanted to announce when I was growing up. So that's a cool thing. So I think it's awesome that you got to do both things. You got to play football and then you got to announce as well. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great, man. Hey, that's how people have to get started with what you're
Yeah.
doing. There's no question. I mean, I did high school games, I did Ivy League games on the radio. I think that's a better way to go about it, quite frankly, than some of the guys that just get like thrust in right at the top. Boy, that's tough. I'm sure I made mistakes at the lower levels that nobody noticed, and I kind of got those out of my system.
Right. So I got one more question for you. I think you're going to like this the best. Can you give me your top 5 tuck spreads?
Ooh, so that's actually a great question. I should probably rank them based on my last time at the stadium. That would be good content actually for my show, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Yeah. If you
I
want to
like
save that
that.
for your show, you can do that. I mean, if you want
Yeah.
to save it
So
for
so
that,
listen,
it's
I'm
fine.
not going to go in order,
Okay,
but I
cool.
will say 5 that jump out to me.
Okay.
I've done a couple of Cowboys Thanksgiving Day games, so I don't know if they're always like this, but the Cowboys spread on Thanksgiving is like lights out, absolutely lights out. I am very partial to the Green Bay Packers, especially if it's a noon game, because I get there at like 9 a.m. at Central Time. I'll have a ham and cheese omelet. Then I'll go down the field. I'll come back. They usually have mac and cheese and pulled pork. So I'll
Ooh,
get like a whole plate of pulled pork and then put the mac and cheese on top, like
that
it's like
sounds
a
good.
topping or a condiment. And then at halftime, I'll have 2 brats. So I love the Packers. The Bucks have a really good spread, really impressive spread, and that includes at halftime they have Bananas Foster.
Oh
And I
my
figured
gosh.
out last Bucks game I did, there's no limit. So I went up 5 times and got another order of banana. I had 5 orders of Bananas Foster at halftime of my last Bucks game. The Ravens are pretty solid when they have their crab cakes, but they only break those out special occasions. Houston Texans are unbelievable. Love the Texans. They're very underrated. And then the Patriots. I like that chowder. Get yourself some chowder. They have these cookies as big as your head. So I'll have like 2 bowls of clam chowder. They have nice entrees and then 2 gigantic cookies. And they'll have like an apple cobbler and ice cream station. So the Patriots are legit as well. I think I gave you 6 there that jump out to
That's
me. Of
awesome.
course,
I
the Eagles,
appreciate that.
but you guys will say I'm biased if I get an Eagles. I like the hoagies. And then
Yeah, right.
I always get 2 Philly pretzels and I take the spicy mustard and I put it
Yeah,
in like the holes of the pretzels, right?
right.
Put 2 plates on. So after the game, when I'm driving back through
Yeah.
traffic, I'm just crushing 2 Philly pretzels. It's amazing.
That's awesome. I got to try that out. I definitely got to try that. So that's going to be definitely, I'm just going to call it the Ross Tucker method. I'll definitely be going on. So, but yeah, I know that we are a little bit short on time, but I appreciate you joining in. We really do. And definitely got to try and get you back on eventually. But
Yeah,
thank you
it's
for your
my
time.
pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me. Keep up the great work. This is how you do it. You reach out to somebody, you stay persistent, you do it multiple times. And that's how you have to get it done when you're getting started. You guys looks like you guys are having some good growth. Kudos to you for that. Thanks for having me, KJ.
Of course. Of course. So, yeah, but everybody go check out as we said before, the futurefans.com as well. So don't forget. But we will catch you guys later.